Welkom terug by die Groot Ontbyt. Ons gesels vanmôre met Charisse Gregory. Sy is van Aluma Capital en ons praat spesifiek vanmôre oor hulle 10de verjaarsdag, oor hoe politieke gebeure en ekonomiese besluite in Suid-Afrika die private mark affekteer en beïnvloed en wat 'n mens daar kan verwag. Good morning, Charisse.
Good morning, guys. How you doing?
Surviving.
Yes, it's a Monday.
Which is a good thing.
And that's enough on a Monday. Survival is all you need.
Surviving is all you need, yeah. Let's start talking about survival. Let's talk about a couple of things that happened in the recent history. We'll talk about the State of the Nation address. Talk about the fact that a national budget speech just gets cancelled. These kind of things, they have an effect on private equity markets. They have on markets themselves. They have on credit. They have an effect on the South African economy, on investors, the trust that investors put in the financial industry in South Africa. Isn't that correct?
It is. And I must be honest, so at Aluma Capital, we're a private equity firm, and we see it coming through. So the speech was fantastic, and I'll tell you why. It gives us insight into what the government's focus is.
The State of the Nation address.
State of the Nation, absolutely.
Yes.
So we now know what the economic initiatives are, where their areas of focus are. The last time I was actually on the show, which was about a month ago, we discussed infrastructure, and we said we can see a lot of energy and a lot of focus going towards infrastructure. What's come through is they're actually looking at putting 940 billion rand towards infrastructure, which will completely impact markets, it's going to completely impact equity, and it's going to completely impact private credit. So we're looking forward to seeing quite a lot of stuff happening in that space. Obviously, we know that the infrastructure needs the additional support, so we're quite excited. As soon as you see those type of initiatives coming forward, in essence, they call for private sector participation to be expected. And that on its own accord brings a lot of investment opportunities, which helps swing private equity. So we're excited. We are going to see a lot happening in that space.
It's good that you're excited and actually seem quite positive. And one of the things people were quite positive about was also the interest rate cut, 25 basis points. But how do you think it influenced investor confidence?
So it's actually quite a simple equation. If it is cheaper to borrow money, in essence, you have these incredible smaller businesses which were right on the brink of needing to expand slightly, and now they can access their capital. And as soon as they can access their capital, they do expand. As soon as they expand, in essence, it seeps into the private equity market. Because now you see these businesses which have just been able to take that extra step that they needed from a private equity point of view, from an acquisition point of view. Businesses like ourselves, Aluma Capital, then get quite interested. We land up purchasing businesses like that. And that encourages a really beautiful flow in investor confidence. So from a private equity point of view, it's fantastic. From a fixed rate investment point of view, it's not as great. Because all of a sudden, you know that that return you're getting is a little bit less. But we don't really play in that space.
From a private equity point of view, if you're worried about your property getting, shall we say, expropriated, that obviously has a negative impact on specifically the private equity market. Apart from the fact that the US just totally jumps up and down and dumps everything on you. What effect did the expropriation law, the proposed, well, not the proposed, the expropriation without compensation law that is now passed, what effect did that have on the private equity market?
So it's twofold, international and local. So obviously from an international point of view, it does hamper investor confidence, because any international buyer is now looking at the opportunities in the country going, but, you know, I'm a little bit unsure about the property rights. However, interestingly enough, it sees a massive surge on the local side, because your local investors now turn around and say, but we can pick up distressed assets. So it actually is a little bit of a twofold dance. We all know that the strains at the moment between the US and South Africa are a talking point. But quite frankly, it just actually creates great opportunities within the country. So it opens up many other doors.
Would the local investors not have the same concerns as the international investors? If the international investors are wary of kind of investing or buying properties with the Expropriation Act, why do local investors not have the same concerns then?
Probably more inside information. So I think they understand the economic status better, they understand the country better, and they know that it is a distressed asset. So I think they know what they're getting themselves involved in.
Mm-hmm.
So speaking about America also, I think everyone's kind of holding their breath to see if AGOA will continue. How will that affect us if it stopped?
So I think quite logically it would have an immediate impact on your exports. Specifically, any industry that focuses on exports will have they'll feel the crunch. I think the beautiful thing about South Africa is we're resilient. We have the ability to get hit with something and say, okay, but fantastic, where are the opportunities here? And that's exactly what we'll do. I think logically it is going to come to an end. And if that's the case, we're going to rely on local regional partnerships, possibly more BRICS-aligned partnerships. So it just means that we'll need to bring it a little bit closer to home again. And that in its own accord surges the economy again. It creates those greater strength, those partnerships, which in turn ups investor confidence. So it'll be a short-term knock, but we'll recover.
There is a resilience in the South African economy,
really
especially locally. We have a way of dealing with those challenges and so far and coming up Trump. In the past decade, there's also been challenges in the Aluma Capital side, probably. You've also experienced it. I mean, you're part of the South African economy. Everyone's challenged at some stage. Yeah.
Absolutely. Simply put, volatility in the market, economic strains, you see it all in the private equity space. We're aware of it. The last 10 years has been littered with moments where, as an investment committee, we've gone, oh, shucks, okay, where to from here? How can we pivot? How quickly can we pivot? Capital protection is critical to us. Our investment strategy is critical. So it's been 10 years of lots of different ebbs and flows where we've needed to react quite quickly. But in essence, that market volatility and economic uncertainty will always seep into your private equity space.
And like you said, that also creates opportunity.
It does. It really, really does. And quite frankly, I think that's where Aluma Capital is probably a little bit different. So we've got a very diversified investment strategy. We will not invest in something unless we've done a complete assessment of it. Obviously, we're very aware of the risks. We're very aware of the various moving parts. We've got quite a unique investment approach. There's very certain industries that we choose to focus on. There's some that we won't touch. So it all forms part of that dynamic investment strategy.
Does that also help you kind of create sustainability and protection for your investors? I mean, because we're speaking about this shifting markets the whole time, and people want to know, okay, kind of, I want to invest in a safe space. Is that part of that?
It absolutely is. So if we're looking at our investment strategy, there will be some areas where we know we can be a little more risky, and then there'll be other players that are a longer hold. And so we say, okay, fantastic. Well, we've chosen risk exposure there, but it's calculated. Yeah. It's incredibly calculated because we know there's a little bit of dancing going on over here. And through that, I think that dynamic movement, we're able to create capital protection. We're able to give our investors fixed returns where we say, regardless of what happens, regardless of what Trump does or doesn't do, this is your return. It's 13.2%. You invest with us, that's what you get out. And I think given what's happening in the economy at the moment, even on a global front, that stability and that certainty is actually what gives investors the confidence to invest with us.
Last time you were here, you spoke about the products that you guys offer, exciting products. Is there any updates on these offerings that you can share with us?
There's so much going on. No one has slept, okay? There really is a lot going on from our side. So we are stepping into the living annuity space, which is actually a space we historically haven't engaged in. So we're really excited to see a little bit of a merge between your living annuity, so in other words, your retirement funding and private equity coming forward in a product line. And we are also doing a lot of focus, interestingly enough, on a US denominated note. So we're still seeing clients wanting to take their funds offshore. And then I think probably the topic that's the closest to my heart is we're actually going to be launching a Sharia fund. So it's a space we've wanted to play in for a very long time, but you need to understand the market. You need to have the right support crew and the right correct investment committee to be able to step into that space, and we now have that. So we're excited. It's going to be a busy year.
No. The Sharia fund. It's. I mean, that's a relatively interesting market and a very niche market, eh?
Specifically in the private equity space.
Yes.
So and that's what I'm saying. We've created an incredibly strong investment committee because you need to be able to navigate it with meticulous care.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you. It's always lovely being here.
And sharing your insights with us. It's very, very fascinating. Thank you so much, Charisse.
Thanks, guys. Have a good week.
As jy enigstens met Charisse of enige iemand by Aluma Capital wil gesels, dis baie maklik. Al wat jy moet doen is, jy moet net eenvoudig na aluma.co.za toe gaan, besoek gerus daardie webtuiste, of skakel 012 012 5291 012 5291 as jy graag met Charisse of enige iemand by Aluma Capital wil gesels, dan kontak hulle jou. Nou ja, baie dankie vir jou tyd en moeite, Charisse. Ons sien jou weer binnekort.
Fantastic.